Hey gamers, today we're going to look at Mekator. Let's check it out. To set up for the game, what you're going to have is you're going to have these cubes and all their little boxes here. These crates actually fit into the board, which I think is super cool. These are really nice crates too, you can put together. You're going to have your time token track right here. You're going to mix up and shuffle all your times over there from your depot and then bring them out here, depending on how many players you want to start with. So this one would be for a 2-player game. I would actually fill it up to there. If I wanted a long 2-player game or 3-player game, I'd fill it up to here. And if I wanted a 4-player game, I'd fill it up to the top. Now, this game goes really fast. So if you are playing 2 players, you always want to play the long 2-player. That's just me because this game is extremely fast and fun to play. The other things each player will get, they'll get their own player board. They'll get their own little box of resources. These are one-time only uses in the game. I'll tell you why they'd need them in a minute. They're each going to get contracts ranging from 2 to 5. Now, after you've shuffled and given out all the 2s, you'll discard any other 2s in the game because no one can get extra contracts worth 2 points in the game. On top of that, you're going to shuffle up the bonus cards and give everyone one of the 3 and one of the 4. Then you're going to take those 2 decks, shuffle them together, and then make a little pile here and put out 4 bonus cards for people to buy. Same thing, there's a deck of building cards. Building cards are basically victory points at the end of the game. You'll shuffle up this deck and leave out 4 here. Once someone buys one, you can immediately replace it with a new card, like so. On the player board, it's basically going to tell you what your steps are when it is your turn. So let me go through the steps here very briefly. The first step says you're going to invest and buy buildings in bonus cards. So as you notice, you don't start with any money in the game. Now they do have, nice little cardboard coins here, 5s, 2s, and 1s that you can get. But to get them, you've got to sell one of your contracts, or 2 or 3 if you want to. And that's how you start the game off. And as you see, the denomination tells you how much. Like this is a 5-point card, so obviously it's worth 5 coins, 4, 3, and 2. So I can sell as many of these as I want. Now I don't have to sell any if I don't want to, but if you start the game, or start your turn with more than 5 contracts, which can happen, then you must sell down to 5. But in this case, I don't have to sell any. If I wanted to, though, I could sell, let's say, Danzig for 5, and I would have 5 coins to spend. Now, on this same turn with invest, buy buildings, and bonus cards, I could spend this $5 and maybe buy some of these bonus cards over here. Now, what bonus cards do is they give you little bonuses on places that you go. So, for instance, if I visited the Dutch Republic, I'm going to get 2 livestock on top of anything else that's in the Dutch Republic. That may be worth my time to get. So that's something you could buy, and of course the price is right there on the bottom of the card. Other things you can buy, you can save up and buy some of these buildings which count as victory points in the game. Here's one, only costs 6 coins here, and it says if my last travel on my last turn is to Hamburg, I'm going to get 5 victory points. That gives me a goal in the game to end up in Hamburg as my last move, and then I'm going to gain 5 victory points. That would be nice. So there's a lot of things you can buy over here by selling your contracts. Now let's go into the next step, which is travel. Now how travel works, each player is going to be using the same token when it's the active player's turn and place it on any one of these squares on the board. Now as they play it on the board, they need to look out for 2 things. One, they need to look at the little time markers in the bottom left-hand corner because it will tell them how much time they will be using or gaining by going there. So for instance, if I went to the Dutch Republic, I would actually gain 1 time token. So I'd go over here and pull 1 time token from the track. If I were to go to Hamburg instead, it said, hey, I get 2 time tokens. So I would have actually taken 2 time tokens in that case if I went to Hamburg. As you see, there are other ones like France, which doesn't require any time. You won't give or take any. And then there's places like Spain that it's -1 time token, which means I have to give away one of the time tokens I have. If I don't have any time tokens, I cannot go to Spain. But if I did go to Spain, I would just throw in one of my time tokens into the depot and travel to Spain. Now, wherever I go, I am going to get the good in that area. So for instance, let's say I went to the Dutch Republic. I would gain my 1 time token from the board there, and then I would gain whatever cubes are here. Now, cubes can be 2 different things, and they'll tell you what each one will be on the square there. So for instance, in the Dutch Republic, it can be vegetables or calf skin, and you get to decide here. So I can put it right here in my storage for vegetables, or over here in the storage for calf skin. Now, you get to decide if it's only 1 in there. If there's 2, then they must be split, 1 in each storage container. Anything more than that, after 2, you can split it up however you see fit. So anyway, let's just say I have 1 in vegetable. Now, why did I pick vegetable? Well, because obviously one of my contracts here says I need to deliver vegetables to Danzig, and I would get some bonuses there. So I go to the Dutch Republic. Now, once I go there, every cube that this rope is touching to this square will also get a cube. So for instance, as you see, it's connected to Hamburg. It's also connected to France. And then finally, it's connected to England. And so that's how it's going to build up. Every time someone travels to one of these squares, the ones that are connected by the ropes on the board will receive a bonus cube. Now, the little squares marked on the outside of the board here are places that are not connected by anywhere else in the world, but when you go there, it will bring in goods to the main worlds. So for instance, if I went to Denmark, anything with 2 cubes on it or more would get an extra cube. So for instance, in this case, France and Hamburg, because they had 2 each. If I went to Italy, it'd be anyone with 1 or more cubes, which is basically everyone on the board but the Dutch Republic. If I went to the Newfoundland, well man, there's lots of goods there. So if I went there, every major country would get a good just by going there. That's why it's 0 or plus. So those are what the little spaces outside on that mark. Now, once my travel is done, after I pay my time tokens, I travel there, I've gathered whatever goods I need, then I go to my 3rd step, which is to fulfill contracts and get new ones. So remember that vegetable I got? Well, if I was in Danzig, which I'm not right now, I could deliver vegetables to Danzig. So let's say it's my 2nd turn, and I went to Danzig here. Okay, I take this, I'm gonna put it in with grain, I guess, and then I am going to use this and pay my 1 vegetable and get a reward. And what's my reward? Well, since this is a number 2 contract, I would get another number 3. Now, my next turn, I could go ahead and sell this one, or maybe keep this one, because I say, ooh, you know what? I'm going to get a spice anyway, or maybe I already have a spice. I'm going to keep this one. Either way, I don't have to get rid of it because that's, of course, under the 5 limit there. So I could keep it there or sell it on my next turn. Now, let's say, since I'm also in Danzig, I have another card here, but I don't have any of those items. Well, what you can do as a one-time use only is you can pull from your personal storage bin and create and finish your own contract if you wanted to. Now, usually you wouldn't take all 3 for that. Maybe it's for just missing 1 or 2. Now, once I remove them from that board, they are out of the game. I'm not going to get that refreshed ever. But in this case, I would complete a 5, and then I would get a number 6 contract, which is worth a little more, which I could sell as well if I wanted to, or if I think I can fulfill that, I can have it. Now remember, I can end my turn with more than 5 contracts if I wanted to. It's at the beginning of my next turn is when I would have to sell down. So as I'm fulfilling contracts and getting new contracts, it also says 4-to-1 trades. What this means is, let's say I had a bunch of other cubes on my board here for whatever reason, and I was needing to trade something in to get another cube. Let's say I had this one too. All right, so let's say I wanted to move all 4 of these. I could trade all 4 goods for another good in the bank. So it says weapons is what I need here. Well, what color cube is weapon? Well, if you look here, there are these little, in the depots here, there are these icons that say, hey, these notate what is a weapon. So if I got a musket, that would be a weapon. So I traded all 4 of these colors and I got a musket instead, 4 for 1. And maybe if I was in Spain, I could have fulfilled that contract as well. So that's one thing you can do with 4 to 1 trades. By the way, you can also trade time tokens 4 to 1 included in that to get that particular trade that you really needed maybe to complete a contract. Now, one thing I do want to mention though, if I was in Danzig and let's say I had 2 vegetables, could I fulfill this contract twice? No, you can only fulfill it once per turn. After that, and this is the cool part about this game, the 4th action is not for you, but it's for every other player in the game. You see, every other player has the option to follow you to that particular country if they have the time tokens to pay you. So for instance, you see this, there's a little traveling man icon on the board here, and it'll tell you how many time tokens, either 1 or 2, you would have to pay to follow that player to Danzig. So let's say maybe it's someone else's turn and they were in Danzig. Well, man, I know I have a contract to fulfill in Danzig and I already have it ready. Instead of waiting for my next turn, maybe I'll pay, and I pay the player. I don't throw this in the depot bin. I would actually pay this to that other player and give them this time token, and then I would travel to Danzig as well. I would collect any bonuses. If I had any bonus cards, I would collect any bonuses as I got there, and I could fulfill any contracts on my own. So you need to also kind of watch where other players need to go to, because you may inadvertently be helping other players. In fact, wherever you move, you're probably going to help another player, either by stocking up those other countries that they need to go to, or having them follow you and complete some of their contracts early before it gets to their turn again. Now, as you're grabbing tokens from this board, every time you get to the last token there, you're going to flip it over and something wild is going to happen. It has a number here, and what you're going to do, for this case it said C. So this is still my time token. I'm going to keep this with me, but all players must discard anything from their C storage bin. I don't have anything, so I got lucky. But if a player did have, let's say, some livestock and some spice there, they would have to get rid of one or the other. It'd be their choice. Some of these tokens, and it's only the ones at the end here that have the little flip over sign on them, but some of these tokens have double letters on them. What does that mean? That means they must eliminate 2 items from their F storage bin. So a lot of times some of your goods are getting old and outdated or stale or going bad, and so you have to get rid of them, and that's at the end of each row here. So that is constantly happening in the game. Now, there are 2 ways for this game to end. Most likely, every time it's going to be when you run out of time tokens. Now, let's say if the last player takes the last time token, but they were required to get 3 and they can only get 1, they can grab more from the resource bin. After that's over, after that's done, the game ends there and you'll count up victory points. The other way the game could end, but it's very hard, is if you make trades all the way up to where if you made a 10, if you fulfilled a number 10 contract, you got the Peace of Westphalia. And if you got this one, then the game automatically ends. And then you start counting up all your bonus points. And how bonus points are counted up is fairly simple. And you even have, each player has a little token here that basically shows you how to add up points. So for each contract I have, that's going to count for that amount of victory points. So I would just flip them over, and that's how many victory points I would get. And this is even above 5, you're going to get points for it. But put your biggest 5 scoring points here. So I probably want to get rid of that too, put it here and put my 6 here and count all these full time. The other points that are outside of your 5 count for half. So that would be 1 point there. All right. And then any buildings. So any building cards where you got scoring conditions that could give you victory points, you want to add those up as well. Unfortunately, bonus cards and money right here are nothing in the game. So they're not worth, money is not worth anything at the end of the game. You don't want to stock up on money. It doesn't give you victory points. After that, whoever has the most victory points wins. Final thoughts. What do I think about the game? Well, you know what? I really don't like Uwe Rosenberg games. I think I've mentioned this before in the past. I only have 1 in my collection, and that is At the Gates of Loyang, which I think is a fantastic game. ooh, this could be better. I don't know. And it's funny because this is another Uwe Rosenberg game that no one loves. No one seems to love this game. I never see it. People have most of his popular games, of course, for good reason. They're always on their list. I didn't even know this is one of his games. I just saw this and said, oh, that looks interesting. Didn't even know he was the creator till after I'd bought it and went, oh, wait, Uwe Rosenberg? Oh, no, I hate that guy. But I really do love this game. It's weird. It's weird. I love his most unpopular games. I don't know why that is. Why do I dislike his popular games? I don't know. They just seem boring to me. This one, super quick game. I was shocked of how quick it was. And it's a lot of fun. You're analyzing not only what's best for your game, but you don't want to help other players. But whatever you do, it's probably going to impact some other player and help them out. It is infuriating and fun at the same time. The cubes are really nice. Get individual bags for the cubes. It's going to take forever to, unmix them into those boxes. But the board looks nice. Like I said, you click those little carts into the board, and it just looks awesome. The player board looks neat. The game is fast and smooth, and that you have your turn is on every player's fourth turn. When it's not your turn, keeps you engaged because you want to know what they're buying. Let me see, did they get any bonus points? What's that building card they bought? Everything's out in the open too. You're like, and then they're traveling. You're like, ooh, do I need to travel there? So while he's paying off, they're getting their resources and paying their contracts and trading and all. You're going, ooh, do I want to give him time tokens to go there? I love it. I love it. There's so much going on in this game. Again, I'm shocked. I wish I loved more of his games, but it seems to be his unpopular ones are the ones that I just adore. I love the most. So is this worth your time? Yes, I think so. I don't see it going for very much. A lot of his games are super expensive. This one is not. And if it looks like it's the right game for you, then gamers, you need to pick it up. It's a fantastic game. All right, folks, that is all the time I have for now. Until next time, game on.